Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Mike here with video number 10 on the channel. If you have subscribed, thanks for subscribing and watching. If you haven't, please go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and also click on the bell so that you get the notifications every time I post a new video. So, at the time of this recording, we're about 10 days, 9, 10 days out from Christmas. So, I thought it'd be a good time to run through a best Christmas horrors on Shudder list. So before I do that, I did mention last week that I would be at Spooky Empire's pop up show in Orlando this weekend, and I was. That was on Sunday. It's pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and share some of that with you guys before I do the Shudder list. So let me go ahead and let's share my screen with you guys. There we go. So that was when you first walked in. It was at the Wyndham Resort in Orlando on iDrive. It was very safe. I didn't know what to expect going into it. You know, horror convention right in the middle of a pandemic is probably not the best idea. But I still wanted to see what it was about, and I was pleasantly surprised. It felt safer there than it did at a supermarket like a Walmart or something like that, where there's just no guidelines at all. Here, everything was very spread out. They had everyone. They had some strict rules on keeping everyone about 6 feet apart and that sort of thing. Only a limited amount of people in any room at a given time. Then they had multiple rooms as opposed to one or two big rooms. So it's pretty cool how they did that. So you can see here it was mostly a lot of vendors. They didn't do any Q&As or that type of thing. No movie premieres or anything like that. They did have a few meet and greets, no one too big. Um, but I'll show you guys some of the stuff they had. Here's some of the Jason Voorhees masks by 13X Studios, all hand painted. You know, the one behind me here is not one of those. That one's just something I got off of Amazon. But I do have some of these as well. So cool stuff that they make. Silent Hill, hand sculpted completely, which is pretty cool and very pricey. You didn't see too much of this, but there were a few people dressed up. This guy is obviously a pandemic doctor or whatever you call them. Um, Pretty cool stuff there. There were a few people dressed up and from different horror movies and that type of thing. But you can see in the background it wasn't too packed at all in there, which is great. One of my favorite spots that I ran into was the Brainbuster video. So all VHS. If you're a VHS collector, they had some really cool titles in there. And then, of course, my favorite part of the entire convention, got to meet Felissa Rose. If you're a fan of Sleepaway Camp like I am, this was an awesome moment. I've done a lot of meet and greets with, you know, stuff in the past like WWE wrestlers, that type of thing, and occasional conventions like Spooky Empire. And normally, when you do an autograph session, you get a lot of, maybe 30 seconds of talking to them, maybe a minute or so, and then they sign the autograph and move on. What was cool about Felissa Rose was that she spent about 5 to 10 minutes talking to each individual person that was online, which was great. I mean, we talked about everything from Sleepaway Camp and the ending, the shocking ending. If you're familiar with the movie, um, talked about Hatchet. We're both from New York, so we got into typical New Yorker talk, talking about Queens and that type of thing. It's just a really cool person. I was expecting the usual autograph session, and it turned out to be much more than that. Um, then here's the autograph signed, "Meet me at the waterfront after the social." If you're familiar with the movie again, that was the last line that she said right before she killed the kid, and then we saw the shocking ending. Um, Moving forward, Alex Vincent, who played Andy in the Child's Play 1 and 2 originals. He was another one. Very awesome. Spent a lot of time talking to everyone individually. Um, We were talking about this year's convention and how it was different from others, and got into a lot of the COVID talk and that type of thing. But again, really, really cool guy. Took a lot of time to talk to everyone, which is amazing. And then there's the autograph photo that I got from him, which is pretty cool. So moving forward from that, again, this video is about the Shudder Christmas list, so I will go ahead and get into that. Um, if you guys have been at any conventions or anything, definitely comment below. Let me know how that experience was. That was my first one, by the way, as far as horror. I've been to other types of conventions for different genres. That was my first horror convention. So let me know, the experience you guys have. You have videos, drop links below. I'd love to see them. And then moving on to our Shudder Christmas horror list. I picked 6 different ones. I know there are a lot more Christmas horror movies on Shudder. I haven't had a chance to watch them all. 5 of the 6 that are on this list, I did not see prior to this time. This is the first time I watched them, with the exception of one of those films, which we probably already know what they are. I'm sure you guys know what movie that is, but let's get into it first. So, number 6 on my list to start this off, All the Creatures Were Stirring. I found this to be a pretty cool movie. It's very low budget. It's last on my list for a reason. It's extremely low budget, but it was a cool little anthology film. The first part of the movie, this corporate Christmas party. It's very dull, very bland. No one's really talking, and then shit just picks up. Somebody opens up a gift, and the thing blows up, and guy's brain is, as you can see on the wall in the back there. Um, so a pretty cool thing there. The next story had this guy, which is kind of this story was kind of a Christmas Carol type of theme, if the best way I can put that. He gets visited by 3 ghosts. Doesn't go exactly the way you envision it with a Christmas Carol, obviously with it being a horror, so it goes a complete different direction. But cool concept. It was, it's worth a watch. Moving on to number 5, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. This is a cult classic. I know most people are familiar with the at least the first 2 parts. I think there's 4 of them, surprisingly. Um, this one was pretty cool. I hadn't seen the first film. I kind of started with the second one because it's already on Shudder, so I started there. But they do flash back to that first film quite a bit. They show you everything that happened throughout this guy's childhood, what he experienced with this nun in a boarding school type of situation. So he tries to get back because of his trauma. He goes through a number of people, killing them, trying to get to this one nurse who caused all this traumatic experience in his life. Pretty cool stuff. Moving on to number 4, Christmas Evil. I was definitely surprised at this one. It looks really low budget. It's from the 80s, I think 1980, in fact. This guy here, and I keep calling everyone this guy because, again, this is the first time I watched most of these movies. I can't remember anyone's name until I give them a few runs. But ultimately, he's obsessed with Christmas. He walks around the neighborhood prior to Christmas with binoculars and hanging out on rooftops, watching all the neighborhood kids. Really creepy shit. Just watching everyone. He knows every kid's name in the neighborhood. Goes back to his apartment where he's got a book of naughty and nice names and all the kids in the neighborhood who are bad and good. And he writes down everything they do every day as he's watching them. It's just really fucking creepy. But ultimately, he loses his fucking mind. He decides he really is Santa Claus, and the only way he can figure out to give back to these kids is he's going to kill people to take what they have to give it to kids. And there's one scene where he lays out everyone in the church, and he goes to another person's house and kills them, takes all their shit, brings it to an orphanage and gives it to the kids. Really fucking wild, but really good slasher at the same time. I enjoyed it a lot. It's creepy, but I enjoyed it. A Christmas Horror Story is number three. Um, this one I was very surprised with. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was just going to be some low budget bullshit. You could see Krampus right there on the cover, so I thought maybe it's just a bite off of the Krampus movie. Um, but I was surprised. Um, in this particular movie, Santa Claus is a wild killer, man. Krampus is setting everyone against Santa and everyone against Christmas, right? All of his elves are turning into rage zombies and coming after him and coming after his wife and coming after people in different neighborhoods around the world to attack Christmas. Ultimately, this leads to this epic battle between Santa and Krampus. The ending is not what you think it is. Just like the previous movies I went through, I'm not going to tell you how that ends. Definitely watch this one. If you don't watch the other ones, definitely watch this one. It was pretty good, and the ending was wild. Number two, Better Watch Out. This one was awesome. I'm thinking about giving this one a second run before Christmas comes because I didn't expect much from it. It looked like a cheap, teen type of movie. And I was pleasantly surprised. So this kid here is left with his babysitter after his parents go out for a date night type of thing. And obviously you can see here he has a crush on his babysitter, and there's a massive age difference. She's probably a senior in high school and he's maybe junior high, something like that. So we know it's clearly not going to happen, right? So he wants to prove to her that he's a man, right? So he gets his friend here all the way on the left to impersonate a uh, a burglar. He breaks in carrying a shotgun, wearing a mask, and the main character here tries to save her, and makes her hide up in the attic. Then tells her, "I'm going to go out and fight this guy," and all kind of crazy shit. Eventually, she figures out their plot. She figures out what they're doing, and that's where it goes horribly wrong. So you can see here she gets tied up to a chair. Um, it doesn't only go bad for her; it goes bad for a lot of her friends and the people around her. It just goes off the deep end. So I absolutely recommend watching this movie. Um, Again, everyone I know that has seen it loves it. I was surprised by it completely. So definitely one of my favorites, and I'll probably be buying this one soon. So moving to number one, I'm sure no one is surprised at this point. Black Christmas 1974. Um, Again, I don't really like the remix. The 2006, 2019 is even worse. So at no point will you ever see me put those at the top of a horror list or a horror Christmas list. But Black Christmas 1974. Here you have Olivia Hussey playing Jess Bradford, who's alone on Christmas Eve with a bunch of her sorority sisters, and they start to get these weird phone calls from someone named Billy. This is the only sighting you ever get of Billy throughout this film. You never see his face. You don't know who he is. Even when the movie ends, you don't know who he is, which is part of what makes this movie great. It's the movie that set the modern slasher in motion, right? This came before Halloween and Friday the 13th. This is the movie that set the groundwork for that. And it's not only one of the greatest Christmas horror movies, but one of the greatest slashers. I mean, you can really watch this any time of the year and it's going to be good. So that concludes my list of Christmas horror movies and then my recap of Spooky Empire, their pop up show. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What are your favorite Christmas horror movies? Are there any I should go and watch? Yeah, let me know. Until next week, I'll see you guys soon.